All right, guys, how you doing today? Amzel Adam here again. In today's episode, we are going to be doing a technical install on a new model of Love Jugs. And today I've got my guest star Sandman with me, and we are on location at Brandon Harley-Davidson in Brandon, Florida.
Brandon, Florida.
Yeah, now they actually have multiple locations. This is just the one here that we're doing this at. Richie is the general manager here, and he was kind enough to let us use one of these new M8 Softails as the test mule to do this installation. So when you get the new Love Jugs for the Softails, these are specific for the Milwaukee 8 Softails that have the ignition coil on the left side instead of a horn. So this is the unit here. This is what you're going to get in your kit. You got the Love Jugs assembly. You're going to have a mounting bracket, 2 rubber isolators, and then 2 large lock washers, 2 small lock washers, 2 nuts, and the 2 bolts. Now, one of the things we're going to do here before we go over the motorcycle, we're going to do a little bit of pre-assembly. This is what I figured out works a little bit easier. So you want to take the 2 isolators and put them through the front of the bracket. You see it's 90 degree. I'm going to go through the front, flip the bracket over, and use the large lock washers on the back of either one of those, along with those 7/16 nuts. Pre-assembling this on the bench is going to make the installation go a lot easier. All right, Sam, if you'll tighten those up.
Done.
All right, now let's go over to the motorcycle. We'll show you the steps that we've taken to get the motorcycle ready for installation. All right, guys, so here we have the Milwaukee 8 Softail. You'll see there's the ignition coil on the side, and this is what's been causing issues with making other Love Jugs fit, is because most Love Jugs are designed to work around the factory cowbell style horn, and with the Milwaukee 8 Softails, they put an ignition coil here instead. Now in preparations, you can see we've already removed the seat from the motorcycle, and we've actually propped the tank up. Now to do that, you just loosen the bolt at the front. You don't have to remove it, just loosen it so you get a good pivot point. And you're going to remove the bolt here on the back side. Just a 9/16 nut and a 9/16 bolt. Just slide that out and just prop it up so I'm safe. That's just going to give you more clearance to get to the bolts that are in here for that bracket. All right, guys, I want to make a note too. You may not have to remove the tank or lift the tank up in your case. Depends on what tools you have, but for filming purposes and just a little bit more clearance, I think it's easier to do that way. So the next step is we're going to pull off this little chrome side cover here, and that is just to access the plug that we're going to utilize to power the Love Jugs. Now this is a 5/32 Allen, and it's just the one bolt. Once it's removed, at the front of this cover, it's just a rubber grommet with like a nipple that pops in. So once that bolt's out, you just pull it straight out and it comes off. And the plug we're going to use is right here. This is the 6-pin plug. That's what will power your Love Jugs. All right, guys, so the next step here, going to remove the coil wires from the coil. They just pop off, no tools required there. And then there is a single mounting bolt that holds that coil in. And Sandman, what size is that?
T27.
So it's gonna be a T27 Torx bit. And once this coil comes off, there is a plug on the back that you'll need to unplug, and then you set the coil to the side, just like that. All right, the next step is to pull out the 2 bolts that hold that bracket on. And Sandman, show them the tool that we're using here just for clearance. So it's a T45 Torx bit, and he's using a 5/16 ratchet wrench around the shank. Just makes it a little bit easier to get in there and do. All right, one thing I want to note here also is you do not need to remove the bracket from the motorcycle. You're just taking the bolts out. The bracket that is supplied with the Love Jugs is just going to lay over top of it, and those 2 bolts will go right back in.
And you don't need to remove this wire clip. Leave this wire clip in place.
Yeah, the new bracket was designed with that clip in mind, so it sits right over top of it with no interference whatsoever.
Make sure you tighten the head bolts up. Now, we previously installed these two rubber bushings on here. Take the love jugs. If you see you have recessed mounting holes, those fit right over the rubber isolators. And then the two little bolts in the washers from the kit hold that in place.
Now note, those are the smaller washers that were in the kit, not the larger ones. And those are 3/16 Allen.
And you want to tighten them up.
All right, so at this point, the next step to do is before you put the ignition coil on, you should route the wire for the love jugs back. It just gives you more room to work in there. So we're gonna do that before we put the coil back on.
So we're going to take the wiring harness and you're going to push it up to where the rest of the coil harness is, and you're going to put a tie wrap there. The other end, you're going to snake up underneath the tank over the top of the fuel line. From there, there is a hole in the frame right here. And that's where we're going to take and push this connector through.
All right, guys, it can be a little tricky fishing that through there, but just be patient and you'll get that plug through.
Now, from here, we're going to take and move the main wiring harness over and push this through. Okay. Move the vacuum line out of the way, put the vacuum line back. Remove the rubber cap from your 6-pin accessory port. Plug in the love jugs.
One thing that's important here, guys, is you're routing this wire here. You do have the shock on the Softail up here. You want to make sure it's routed in a manner where it's not going to get caught up in any of the moving parts. And there's plenty of room to get it in here and keep it away from that stuff. But just a note, you want to make sure you do it that way so that you don't cause any rubbing or getting breaks in the wires in the future. All right, at this point, we're going to do a test. So we got the key fob here. We can turn on the system, and the love jug should power up.
Okay, everything's working. From here, we'll reinstall the coil. Make sure your harness comes through the hole. Plug that back in. T27 again. Oops. Make sure it's tight. Coil wires, plug them back in place. And the job's basically done.
Yeah, all we gotta do now is reinstall the side cover, the seat, and bolt the tank back on. Hey guys, also as you're routing that wire up underneath the fuel tank, make sure you use zip ties and properly secure that as well. Just to make sure that it doesn't hang down and lay on the engine.
Now at this point, we would drop the tank, put the bolt back through, tighten up the front of the tank and the rear of the tank, put your seat on, and go for a ride.
All right, guys, I just want to run through the tools one more time that we use to do this project. It's got a 9/16 wrench and a 9/16 socket on a ratchet. That is for removing the tank bolt. Then we have the 5/32 Allen for removing the side cover. A 3/16 Allen for installing the bolt supplied with the love jugs into the dampeners. We have a 7/16 box end wrench for tightening up the nuts on the back side of the dampeners. All right, we've got a T27 Torx bit for removing the single bolt that holds the coil to the coil mounting bracket. And then a T45 Torx for removing the coil mounting bracket bolts from the cylinder heads. And again, we use this little ratchet wrench here with a 5/16 end just to put over top of that, and it made getting into the tight clearance a little bit easier. I hope that helps. That way you make sure you have all the tools laid out to make the project go a lot faster. All right, guys, that was it. As you can see, the installation is really simple. It only took about 15 to 20 minutes, depending on your skill level, to do the whole thing. So, Sandman, I want to thank you for joining us today. You helping out, I really appreciate it. Also want to give thanks to Brandon Harley-Davidson. They also have locations in Panama City Beach, Florida, Tampa, and Newport Richey. So, guys, give them a look up, and if you want a good quality motorcycle and you want good service, they're definitely a place to go. So until the next time I see you, you keep those engines running.